60, and I'm at work. You guys are used to seeing me at my job. Over there is my little bin of snacks because I work late, as you could tell, and sometimes I just have to have a ramen or a can of tuna salad. It's weird. Anyway, thought I'd get on here and just do a couple of follow ups because I've had conversations about things and I realized I have not followed up on them. So that's what I'd like to do today. So the first follow up I want to do is I want to follow up with SM and cacao and all the shit going on there. So things are still in the shitter when it comes to SM. SM is still facing issues with the merger because of stock manipulation. Basically, some stocks were purchased and not disclosed publicly that they were purchased by Cacao. And because of that, both Isuman and other investors didn't know what kind of supermajority Cacao had going into the purchase of SM. And apparently, uh, SM management, not Isuman, but his nephew and the other guy who like came up through the ranks of SM, they both knew about the stock purchases allegedly, and they were complicit with or had already made like side deals basically with Cacao to help them to get this SM deal going, to get this SM deal on the table. So, long story short, it sounds like some bad things are going to happen with Cacao in terms of the government getting into the stock manipulation. And this is bad for Cacao because they already have an issue with the fact that buying SM and all of SM's related properties made Cacao so big that they had to sell off a lot of other holdings that they had. So, for instance, Cacao produces albums, SM produces albums, and so they had to sell the distribution center that Cacao owned in order to go through SM. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that like crisscrossed in terms of telecommunications that Cacao had to either sell off a SM property or sell off a Cacao property in order to not get in trouble for monopoly. And monopoly, in case you're wondering, doesn't mean the board game. Monopoly means if one particular entity has too much power over an entire industry. So, for instance, back in the 1800s in America, there were like 3 or 4 specific railroad barons who owned all of the railroad transportation in America. And then they were thinking about merging into just two. And the problem is when you only have maybe two competitors in a market, they can raise the prices to whatever the fuck they want because they have no competition. And so that's the reason why monopolies are bad. You want to have as much activity in any particular industry. One, because it makes it to where there's competition, so you have less chances of price fixing. But two, in cases of emergency shortages or just shenanigans at the plant, you have other options to buy from. So a great example of that is here in America, we had a baby food shortage. No, it wasn't baby food. It was formula. It was baby formula shortage. There were only like maybe 3 or 4 plants in America that were making baby formula, and I want to say 2 of them had like a massive contamination scandal. Whole plants had to be shut down, deep cleaned, everything. Well, for several weeks, there was a shortage nationwide of baby formula because so few places made it. So that's the reason why you want to have competition. That's why you want more than one company in a market, and that's why monopolies are bad. And with Cacao not disclosing the the stakes and stocks that they bought prior to the big public disclosure of stocks that they were willing to buy, that created an issue because, again, like I said, they have to disclose to Isuman, they have to disclose to board members, they have to disclose to the government that, hey, we already own this much stock already. So us being able to buy a few more, we will have the majority. So if somebody else is thinking of buying, they either need to buy our stocks or they're going to need to somehow beat us in a supermajority. Where this gets Cacao in trouble is that, let's say you're a board member and you were holding on to your stocks because you knew that Hybe and Cacao were fighting it out. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you're like, okay, I'm going to hold on to my stocks for a while, try to get the highest stock price that I can. But if you knew that Cacao had an edge up on Hive to begin with, that Hive just didn't have a chance of owning SM at all unless they got your stock. Then you might would go to Hive and say, hey, you want to win? Buy my stock at 200 instead of the 150 you offered me. Or you might say, well, Cacao's going to win regardless of what Hive does. So maybe I'll buy some stock in Cacao since I think they're going to win this whole thing. Now, that's not considered insider knowledge because it was very public that there was this whole Cacao Hive rivalry. So insider knowledge is basically if you know something that the general public doesn't know. But if you know something that the general public knows and you divest from one company because you plan on investing in a parent company, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, well, in some countries, let me be clear, not all business rules last for all countries. But yeah, apparently Cacao just really went into this so greedy to win SM because a bigger part of their business was predicate on them owning SM that they just really shot themselves in the foot with everything that they did to acquire SM. Because apparently Cacao had promised investors that they would get SM in order for them to get a much larger investment from another company. So it was basically like the fish eats the worm, the crocodile eats the fish, the whale eats the crocodile. Is basically I acquire smaller, so bigger will acquire me, so on and so forth. And that's where we are with all of this. So I wanted to make sure I gave you a brief, kind of understandable follow up on what's going on because, you know, you guys, I don't know about the rest of you, but I work for a living. And it's good to know what goes on with corporations and the shenanigans that corporations do in order for you not to be blindsided when something bad happens. So, yeah, that's what I had to say about that. Now, I want to follow up on 50/50. The last time we talked about 50/50, we talked about how shitty their album was that's currently in Target. So, for those who don't know, 50/50 has an album that is sitting on the Target shelves right now. It is a larger orange album, and this larger orange album has like 100 plus basically blank sheets, like sheets with no picture, sheets with just a small nonsensical graphic on it, pieces of a graphic. It's basura. Anyway, uh 50/50 has had issues with their parent company because their parent company has alleged that an outside force, I think it's Warner Brother Music, I'm not sure who it is. I can't remember, so don't sue me. An outside force was telling the girls from 50/50 that they were being treated unfair by the parent company and that they needed to leave the parent company and go off on their own. Why did this happen? Because 50/50 had Cupid. And Cupid, honestly, is probably the biggest K pop song of 2023. The only K pop song that I think could even touch it is OMG by New Jeans. So, I mean, they're probably neck and neck, neck and neck. And that's exciting because honestly, outside of the big four, no one has really penetrated the American market like this. What happened with 50/50 literally is like a once in a lifetime thing. They had Cupid come out, Cupid blew up. And then they got invited to be on the Barbie soundtrack, and people wanted them to come on morning shows, and people wanted them to make appearances in America, and they were in line to make some real money. I think that's the thing that you need to understand the most about this 50/50 thing. Them having such a huge look in both America and Europe and other countries, they were in line to take that clout and make some real money. And so, yeah, there were probably people in their ear talking about, your label is so unfair to you. Them people at that label don't treat you right. If you used to go with me, I'd take care of you. I can get you out of your label agreement. Girl, I know they're not treating you fair. I know that your label agreement was probably made on pins, needles, dreams, and aspirations. I can get you out of that. But this is the problem with 50/50. They weren't in their contract very long. They were given several releases after they came out. In fact, Cupid wasn't even their first release. It was their second. Because if you recall on my channel, I unboxed their first release. I like 50/50 from the very beginning. From the very first time I heard them, I'm like, they have an interesting sound. I like these girls. So, they they really didn't have a history of mistreatment that they can use. But and this is a big but, because I don't want anyone to ever think that I'm on the side of corporations over individuals. But there had been issues with the health of the 50/50 members. We currently live in a period in time where COVID continues to affect people. The byproducts, the side effects from having COVID are still affecting people. And also, being a K pop idol, especially a Nugu, you work insane hours. You make insane appearances. You are always on. And so these girls were run down for sure. These girls were not treated fair for sure. They were put on insane diets for sure. And they were not being treated well by their parent company for sure. Like, compared to what we would want for our faves, if somebody tried to work Taemin the way they work 50/50, a riot. So I say all that to say there was malfeasance on both sides. But when it came to that malfeasance being enough for 50/50 to win in court, that has not been the case. Their parent company has been whumping ass in court, to the point that one of the members came back to the company, publicly apologized for leaving, and now their parent company is getting ready to build a group around her. They are getting ready to dismiss the contracts of all the other girls at 50/50. The girl's lawyer has quit on them, and they're getting ready to make a new 50/50. It's sad. It's real sad. It is sad. And yes, one of them did say they were denied a massive surgery and that they had been diagnosed with like either a developing cancer or a precancerous situation, which is why I said I don't want you to think that these companies treated these girls well. I'm not saying that these companies were nice to these girls. I'm not saying these companies weren't about some fuck shit. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, legally and in the eyes of the court, it was not enough. And now you have at least four girls who their dreams of being an idol are permanently over, because them having sued their former label, what other label is going to want to pick them up? They might try to act, but they're not going to be able to be idols again, because now they're going to be seen as used goods, troublemakers. And the thing that's so sad about that is there has been so much sympathy for idols over the last several years. And I don't say that to be like, oh, they ruined it or whatever. I'm going to be very clear about what I have to say. We have seen our faves be treated like animals by these companies. Wendy almost died trying to rehearse for a show. She literally fell like 2 stories and busted herself up seriously. We have seen our idols literally die from having to be a part of the idol lifestyle, from taking their own lives. We have seen people be poisoned by fans and their labels not allow them to pursue the legal justice that they deserve. We have seen them stalked. Just recently, we watched idols be stalked, which proves that their companies don't provide them the kind of security that a star would deserve. The fact that you would have 3 of probably the most popular men in Korea sitting down to lunch, knowing that not only are they some of the most popular men in Korea, but they're some of the most known Korean stars worldwide. And there wasn't a bouncer standing next to them. There wasn't a security detail standing next to them. There wasn't somebody like just being on paparazzi watch. The fact that that didn't happen just goes to show how little some of these companies think about their artists. So I don't ever want anybody to confuse me for a company person. I really care about the individuals. But the problem is, South Korea is very much a all for society, none for the individual type of society setup. A lot of times, what's honored in Korea as good is being filial. What's honored about being good is being more caring about appearances and how that could affect the rest of the society around you rather than your own personal pain. And because of that, the companies that have been manipulating, mistreating, being terrible to idols, they have started to lobby the government to make protections for companies, because idols have been using new laws, the JYJ laws, to get out of really bad contracts. You can't sign an idol to a 10-year contract anymore. You can't sign an idol to an automatically renewing contract anymore. You have to be more transparent with, this is what your training costs, and this is how much money you've made so far, and this is how much money is still owed, because we've seen a lot of that. We've seen like major stars in Korea find out that they were owed $1 million because their record company told them, oh, well, the reason why we release your albums is because we like you as a person, but no, we don't make any money off these albums. Lies, lies, lies. So I say all that to say, this situation with 50/50 is really unfortunate, because this situation, because it's not as blatantly lopsided as a lot of the other situations we have seen, it's going to play into the hands of those companies who want to make it harder for idols to get out of unfair contracts, because they're going to say, well, remember the girls in 50/50? Meanwhile, they expect us to forget TS Entertainment as a whole. They expect us to forget what happened with JYJ and what happened to Hangang with SM. They expect us to forget all these other things that have happened over time, because it doesn't suit the interests of these K-pop businesses. And the reason why these K-pop businesses are being protected by the government as well is because a lot of South Korea's pension system is invested in major K-pop companies. Go on Wikipedia right now. If you go on Wikipedia and you look up HYBE, you look up SM, you look up JYP, and you look up YG, all of them have significant shares of their companies owned by the South Korean pension system. So whose interest are they going to look out for? A young 16-year-old whose parents helped sign a contract when they were young and full of dreams and didn't know the realities of the world because they weren't even fucking adults? Or millions of people who have put their retirement into these companies, hoping these companies make money? That's where we're at with this thing. And so I hate what's going on with 50/50. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. But at the same time, there is a growing backlash to the idea that idols are mistreated. And also, I'll tell you one other thing that's moving it along. It's unspoken, but it's a fact. We are in the midst of a global recession. Prices are high everywhere. They're raising all the time. Unemployment is starting to rise in places. And because we're in the midst of a global recession, people are meaner than they've been. And they're especially mean to people who they perceive have more than them. There's a jealousy amongst a lot of Koreans about idols. Have you ever wondered to yourself, why is it that Korean people are so harsh on idols? Why is it only when an idol is in like a completely one-sided situation do people finally give them any sympathy, whereas most of the time they spend picking on idols? The reason they do that is because they're jealous. Because there's a lot of unemployment in Korea. There's a lot of men in Korea who want women and don't have access to women. There are a lot of situations going on in Korea that have made it to where people have a hater mentality. And I don't like using that phrase because I just don't even like the word hater, especially because I've been following this whole Keith Lee in Atlanta thing, and there's a lot of use of the word hater in that situation. We can talk about that later. But I say all that to say, a lot of people, regular people, who are facing evictions, who are facing huge debts, who don't have job prospects, who can't go to the schools they want to go to, who can't get the jobs they'd like to get, who can't get the relationships they would like to get. They see an idol like Jungkook from BTS, who has tattoos and piercings and brags about the kind of sex he can have, and they know that he makes a ton of money. Do you think that they're going to feel sympathy if Jungkook was to get on the news and say, HYBE has been mean to me and I've had migraines for years that have gone untreated because of my schedule? Do you know how little sympathy the Korean public would have for him? Because they're like, oh, you have headaches? I can't eat. Oh, you have headaches? I have no job. Oh, you have headaches? Maybe quit fucking so many bitches because I'm an incel. It's just, when people are hurting, you can either internalize that and let that kill yourself, or you can externalize that. And a lot of people choose to externalize that. And that is the reason why now the tide is changing. And just like you're noticing more misogyny in the laws that are passing in Korea, you're also noticing there's a lot more hatred for idols in Korea. I'm gonna have to change my earbuds soon. I just want to let you know. I got a little signal saying that this one's about to go dead. Anywho, there's a lot more hatred towards a lot of these idols. I think one of them went out. Can you hear me? Hopefully you can still hear me. I changed out my earbuds, but all of a sudden it went quiet. Hopefully you can hear me. Anywho, so there's a lot more hatred towards idols. There's a lot more backlash towards idols. There's just a lot more people who are like, fuck these people. And they don't care about their work situation anymore. And I hate to say this, but I think something tragic is going to happen again in order for the tide to change regarding idols. Because yeah, people have just been really super shitty. So, excuse me for a moment. I'm going to go check to see what the comments say because for some reason my comments are loading really, really crappy and I couldn't read them. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, I can't read my comments. Oh, I'm so sad. Guys, if I don't answer your comments, I just want you to know it's not because I don't want to. It's because literally I'm looking at my comments and like if you wrote a paragraph, the lines are like on top of each other. So I can't read it at all. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. Damn it. Okay, more follows up. I wanted to follow up on EXO. We haven't talked about EXO in a minute. The last time we talked about EXO, Beckham was getting his own company, I believe. Or no, CBX was trying to leave EXO. That's what it was. They weren't leaving EXO, they were trying to leave SM. And then I guess it was decided that they're still going to do all of their EXO stuff, but they're going to do their own solo promotions. Well, anyway, long story short, Dio's gone. Dio's gone. Dio's gone. He is like, what am I singing for when I can make tons of money acting? Why am I wearing out my body singing for the unwashed masses when I could be an actor and my movies make money? I'm actually a movie star, low key, high key. Like, for those of us who know Dio from EXO, I think it's sometimes hard for us to conceptualize the fact that he's actually like a legit movie star. But he is. And when I say a movie star, I mean a real, legit, bankable, that's the important phrase, bankable movie star. If you look at his discography and then you look at his filmography is kicking his discography's ass. The money is not being made on the albums. The money is not even really being made on the tours. The money is being made showing up on film. And his films break box office records. Like, they're super, super paying. And because his films pay him so well, why would he continue to kill himself working for SM? So he's not. So he's not. And I have to say, I'm not mad. This is a man who has given basically his late teens and all of his 20s to SM. So why not move on and do something that like benefits you full-heartedly? And so that's what he's doing. And we're getting to the point now where I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with a 2 p.m. situation with EXO, where basically everyone in EXO has all of their business managed by other people, other entities, self-promoting companies. But if there's an EXO project to be had, that is promoted by SM. In fact, if I had to make a prediction, I think the only member of EXO who's going to re-sign with SM at the end of the day, Kai. It'll be Kai. It'll be Kai because Kai gets the Taemin treatment. So I'm about to say something super unpopular. Please don't kill me because I still think Kai is a neat little guy. Kai's first album had great production, which was important because I didn't think that Kai's singing voice was worth a solo. I think there was never a question about whether Kai was going to get a solo because he's so hot and he's such a big, important member of EXO. He's so many people's bias. He's like a real big fave for a lot of people when it comes to EXO. So, I mean, there was never the idea that he wasn't going to get a solo. But that first Minnie, they worked overtime to make him sound good because mm, mm, they weren't trying to make him sing too hard. I think he's gotten better over time, but yeah, Kai's voice is it's not the powerhouse. It's not the powerhouse. But they continue to throw money behind his projects because they sell. Because people think he's sexy and they want to buy things with his face and his body on them. So they buy the albums. And I don't think that Kai has got too much else going on besides his SM stuff, like basically his EXO stuff and his solo stuff, for him to really go anywhere else. And again, I'm not trying to be a hater, but like I'm thinking about Schumann. Schumann does a little bit of acting. He also does EXO stuff. Suho will probably stay with EXO because he's a company man. Kai, if it's not music and dancing and modeling, what does he do? So there's just so many reasons why I feel like Kai's going to resign to the label when he gets out the military. He can't resign right now because, again, he's in the military. But yeah, I see him resigning when he gets out the military because what else is he going to do? I don't see him really doing anything else. And then I think that whoever resigns with SM, they're going to get a project group formed around him, kind of like OGG, where they only had the members of Girls' Generation that were still signed to SM doing it. I think he's probably going to get an OGG style project, which is like him, Suho, and I don't know, maybe Sehun will be on it, and that will be it. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I mean, we're watching EXO slowly dissolve, kind of like a Thanos snap. But instead of like all of a sudden people are disappearing, it's just like one here, one there, slowly disintegrating. So follow up to that. Follow up to something that's not K-pop. Follow up to OnlyFriends. I'm gonna probably do a little YouTube short about that just because I'm gonna have to respond to somebody from my last video. I did a video on here talking about OnlyFriends. It is a Thai BL. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time talking about it, but it ended. When I did my last discussion about it, review, whatever else, I was talking about the fact that at that time, I think there had been 10 episodes aired. There were only 2 episodes left. I have since watched those 2 episodes. It was a fucking waste of my time. It was a fucking waste of my time. I'm so fucking pissed. I think that I'm mad. I'm mad. Let me tell you why I'm mad. So, I mentioned on my last discussion of that show, I like Ton Nick as a couple. I think they're cute. I'm really happy about them, deciding, we're toxic people, let's be toxic together. I was down for that. I really, really was. Because I felt like bad guys need lovers too. But then, in the very last episode, guys, not even the last 2 episodes, the last episode, they make Ton do something completely assholeian again. And I'm just like, what was the point? What was the point? Because this storyline does no favors to Nick and it does no favors to Ton. So, last we left off, Boston and Nick talked to each other. And Boston was like, I need to change my life. Like, I don't understand why I am so hurtful to people. I don't understand why I keep driving people who care about me away. And Nick was like, I'm so glad you've come to realize that you have this destructive trait. I have noticed it too, but I also think that you are a person worthy of love. Therefore, I'm willing to give you love. I want to love you. He started singing Mario, You Should Let Me Love You. Anyway, they decide to go back, make sweet love. They're a couple again. The next episode is just them being lovey-dovey, kissy-kissy. Let's be boyfriends. I still plan to move to New York, but until I move to New York, let me be your man. Let me treat you better than you've ever been treated. Let me be the one. Then in episode 12, the very last episode, Nick and Boston. This is how fucking crazy this is. Nick and Boston are at a club, slow dancing. And Boston's like, baby, I love you. Tell me what you like. I'll do anything you want. Before I leave for New York, I'll buy you anything. I'll go anywhere with you. I'll do all the things a man's supposed to do to somebody they love. Just tell me what you need. Tell me what you want. And Nick is like, I just want you to hold my hand, and I want you to let me meet your dad, and I want you to tell me that you like me." And Boston's like, "Cool, cool. I'm gonna go to the bar and get us a couple of drinks. I'll be right back." This motherfucker goes to the bar and sees a known hoe sitting next to him. Known hoe is like, "Man, I'm sad. I've been trying to hoe all day long and don't nobody want to fuck me." Drink and drink. Boston's like, "I'll fuck you. Meet me in the alley." Goes out in the alley. They're making out. This guy is like, "Are you here with anybody?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm here with my boyfriend, but me and my boyfriend got an understanding." Where is said boyfriend with said understanding? Standing on the dance floor looking like a lost child talking about, "Where'd my boyfriend go? He said he was going to get drinks. That was a half an hour ago. Where'd this motherfucker go?" He goes out in the alley because, hoes no hoes. Goes out in the alley and sees his boyfriend deep tonguing down this other man, giving each other fisties. So he goes to sit on a bench outside, smoke a little cigarette, think about, what the hell am I doing with my life? Poor Nick is out there. Ooh. Out comes Boston. He's like, "Boston, where have you been?" "Oh, I was taking a shit." "Really? Because I went in the alley and I saw you making out with that whore over there." He's like, "Oh, well, you know what it was, baby. I'm gonna still treat you the way I treat you, but when it comes to emotions versus physical, I'm giving you all my heart. I'm giving somebody else a piece of this dick. There's a difference." Oh, God. It would be different if the storyline had been how to explore conscientious polygamy. Not polygamy, polyamory. Conscientious non monogamy. Either of those options, having been explored, having been discussed, having been exercised, would have been lovely. Instead, you have a guy who is making out with his boyfriend and, with the attention span of a goldfish, goes out and decides to fuck somebody else in the alleyway. And then Boston shows up to the New Year's party, tells his friends, "Hey, I'm sorry that I was an asshole to you the last time. Can you please be my friend?" And his friends are like, "Yeah, we want to hang out with you. I haven't forgiven you, but we still want to hang out with you tonight. So whatever." He calls Nick and is like, "Nick, I know you said one of the things you wanted me to do when I was your boyfriend is to give you a kiss on New Year's. You want to hang out?" Nick shows up. Now, here is where I swear I lost my fucking mind. Nick shows up and it's like, I had to decide whether I was going to come. I decided to come. So I'm thinking, okay, is Nick going to sit down with Boston and say, "Listen, I realize you cannot be monogamous. You have to fuck around. And I'm cool with fucking around, but we need some ground rules." I thought that's what was going to happen. No. Nick shows up to spend New Year's with this man, only to let him know, "I plan to spend the next year focusing on me. I don't want that kiss that you promised me for New Year's, even though I'm fucking wasting my New Year's with you. And I just want to let you know, I don't ever want to talk to you again. Don't ever call me. You will never change. Goodbye." Now, let me tell you something. I don't mind Nick having this revelation. I don't mind Nick deciding I need to do what's best for me. When it comes out to who I should care about, I care about me. Listen, I'm an old school R&B fan. One of my favorite songs is the song "Me" by the artist Tamia, and her name is Me. Anyway, I'm all about me, 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 me. But why did you even entertain taking Boston back to begin with? Baby, everyone knows Boston is a hoe. Everyone knew Boston was a hoe. Boston didn't even say, "I'm gonna stop being a hoe." He just said, "I don't know why I'm so fucking horny that I'm ruining my life behind being horny." It would have made more sense for Nick, after being told by Boston, "I don't want you no more," then telling Boston, "Cool, you don't want me, have a nice life," to stand on his ground, to stand on his word, to stand on his business and say, "I've not changed my mind. I still care about me. In fact, I want you to see me making out with my new man." I could have lived with that. But this going back to Boston and then being like, "Oh gosh, I forgot. I'm a piglet and you're a wolf." What was the point? What was the point of any of that? What was the point of any of that? Ugh, just a fucking waste of time. Also, I hate Sand Ray. I'm so sorry. Uh, so Sand has an ex-boyfriend named Boeing who is a whore. In fact, his boyfriend is such a whore, he's the one who made out with Boston in the alley. Boeing's a whore. Uh, so Sand has an ex-boyfriend named Boeing. Boeing left him for Top, which is Mew's current boyfriend. Boeing tried to steal Top's man as revenge for Top dumping him. That didn't work out. So he's like, I'm gonna go back to my old man, Sand, who I left for Top before. Sand has a boyfriend named Ray. And he's like, I remember how much we loved each other. And, I was blinded by my lust. And I've changed my ways. I've changed my mind. I could be the man that you need. I could be the one for you. I could be your hero, baby. Enrique Iglesias, for those who don't get the reference. Also, if you want to laugh, if you want a good hearty guffaw, go on TikTok and type in Enrique Iglesias live and just watch his concert footage. Peak comedy. Anyway, let's keep going. So Boeing goes back to Sand and is like, I miss you. I love you. I want to get back together with you. Please take me back. So Boeing and Sand are just talking. Sand never says, I want to get back with you. He never says, I miss you too, baby. That's not what happens. Sand is just like, well, I got a man now. I'm doing my own thing. I'm glad you're well. I'm glad to know what happened with your life. That's it. But Ray, because he's so fucking jealous and because he's so fucking like codependent, goes up to Boeing and is like, hey, come back to my house. Let's all party together. Which Ray constantly does this in the show. This is like a big trope in this show. Every time Ray sees anyone talking to Sand, he's always like, let's have a threesome. Every fucking time. So this time he's like, let's have a threesome at my house. We will drink, we will splash in the pool, we will get naked, and we will fuck. Now, in the episode prior to this, our man was headed to rehab, is currently in rehab, doing community service as part of his penalty for drunk driving. And he's like, let's come back to my house and get drunk and fuck. So they go back to Ray's house, get naked, in the pool, swimming, doing laps, filling each other up. And he's like, I know you still love your ex-boyfriend, Sand, so give him a kiss. I know you love me, Sand, so give me a kiss. Then he's like, and since your ex-boyfriend is a whore, he needs to give me a kiss. And Sand is like, I don't want a threesome. I think you don't get it. The reason why me and Boeing didn't work out is because Boeing is a whore. I'm not looking to whore around. I really like you, Ray. I really want to be with you. So then Ray says, well, if you want to be with me, you need to tell that slut to leave you alone. And I'm just like, but Ray, he didn't ask this man to be here anyway. He never entertained any of this man's bullshit. He never asked this man to come over to your place. All of these shenanigans that are happening tonight is all you. Also, you're supposed to be in fucking rehab. Why are you drinking a finger of whiskey? So that happens. Sand runs into Boeing again, and Boeing is like, I got tickets to go see Arctic Monkeys, which my daughter would be super jealous. She loves Arctic Monkeys. And Ray's like, well, I'll take those tickets and I'll pay you for it because this is my man and my man don't want you no more. So skedaddle, whore. And Boeing is like, man, fuck y'all, and walks off. So that ridiculous, stupid storyline wraps itself up in an episode and a half. New Year's, Ray, Sand are hanging out. They decide to do something from some other rom-com movie. It's a movie called Begin Again with Keira Knightley in it. They decide to put in earbuds and listen to music and run around town listening to music together. They don't run around town. They literally run around a parking garage. But anyway, while they're talking about their futures and what they want to do with their life, Ray, the recovering alcoholic we just talked about, tells Sand, I want you to start making liquor again. I want to give you money so that you can sell liquor because that will make you rich. And if you're rich and I'm rich, then we'll be equals. And I want you to name the liquor after the both of us. This man is never going to get clean. Mr. I'm currently in rehab is telling you need to start a liquor business so you can get rich and name it after us. throw the whole fucking couple away. Throw the whole fucking couple away. And then the last two couples was Mew and Top basically telling each other, let's move in together. You make me happy. I'll be a good man for you. I'll support your dreams. Let's sit in the bathtub and talk about pros and cons of our personalities. And the very last couple is fucking Choom and her girlfriend April. And Choom, with her nosy, messy ass, had found out that her brother lied about Boston blackmailing him into sleeping with him. And so she decides to invite Boston to like the friend's New Year's party, even though no one else in the friend group wants to hang out with him. And it's like, girl, go find you a group of lesbians to hang out with. And I don't say that to be homophobic at all. Choom is a lesbian, her girlfriend April is a lesbian, but Choom hangs out exclusively with gay men. And it's just like, you need to go hang out with the rest of the girls. You need to go hang out with the girls because I feel like they would give you the good sense that God didn't give you. Because these gays you hang out with don't even recognize that you're there. You're literally there to buy the snacks, to set up the party favors, and to allow them the freedom to go do whatever the fuck they want to do. But they don't give a fuck about you. You are not their real friend. And so I need Choom to go find the rest of the girls and go get a life. Go get a fucking life. But yeah, that was the end of fucking OnlyFriends. A waste of my goddamn time. And GMMTV, you will pay. You will fucking pay. But yeah, that's all the follow up I have. I would ask you guys if you have questions for me, but I need you to know you have to phrase your questions in like 3 or 4 words because, again, like I said, the chat is fucked up. And if you write more than 5 words, they like just sit on top of each other in a jumbled mess and I can't read it. I haven't been ignoring anybody. I literally just cannot read. Oh, let me talk about fucking Eric Nam. I almost forgot. Eric Nam. So I just want to be very clear right here because it's very important for me to say this because I have people who watch my channel who have Israeli relatives, who have Palestinian relatives, people who are currently living in Israel, people who are currently living in other parts of the world who are anti-Israel. And I just want to put it this way because I think I put this in another video. The shit that's going on down there has been going down there for way longer than I've been alive. I don't feel comfortable telling you what to believe or not to believe, but there are a whole bunch of innocent people being killed, and it makes no sense to me for a person to say that they're on this side to the exclusion of wanting innocent people to be out of all of this and to not have a government manipulating everything and making it seem like if I have compassion for people, then I must support terrorism. I have compassion for babies. Let's be clear. So anyway, on to Eric Nam. Those of you who might not know, because I don't talk about Eric Nam all the time, but when I talk about Eric Nam, it's basically to hate him. I don't like Eric Nam. I think he's full of bullshit. I don't like his personality. I think he's fucking fake as shit. I don't find him attractive, and I don't think his singing is special enough for him to have maintained the length of career that he has had. I hope that puts clear how I feel about the subject. Eric Nam had liked or reposted or posted something pro-Israel. And people who do a little bit more fact-finding into the matter have found that Eric Nam, the company that he owns, because he owns like a podcasting, blogging company situation. Anyway, that it has ties to a lot of pro-Israel institutions. And so he had an Asian tour scheduled for his new album that's completely in English, I think. And he was going to be going to Malaysia and the Philippines. Well, this is the thing. The Philippines have had their islands occupied by the Spanish. They have been stepped on by the Americans. They've had a lot of occupation in the Philippines, and a lot of Filipino people have a lot of sympathy for the Palestinians for having basically their land snatched out from underneath them and their culture trying to be wiped out. In Malaysia, there is a very large Muslim community, and because the Palestinians tend to be Muslim most of the time, they are very sympathetic toward the plight of the Palestinians. And Eric was scheduled to go to these two countries, but because of statements that were made and people calling him out on that, he posted his tour itinerary, and where previously he had stops in Malaysia and the Philippines, he took those dates off. And people were like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Does this mean that like you are so pro Israel that you won't even go to countries that might sympathize with the plight of the Palestinians? And he had turned off comments. Things were silent. No one was saying anything. Then today, Eric Nam comes out with this huge, long disclaimer. I didn't mean to, and that's not what I meant, and I feel sympathy for everybody. And also, I was getting death threats, so that's why I'm not coming to Malaysia. Whatever. Everything he said might be true. But I want people to remember, Eric Nam was also infamous for when they were doing the Stop Asian Hate, he wanted everybody to put up fucking yellow squares on their Instagram because he's so fucking dumb and uneducated that he doesn't realize that calling Asian people yellow is a slur. His own folks. His own folks. And also, before that, black people had told him, don't put up them fucking squares, because what happens is when you put up that blank square, that's all people see when they search term the topic. So, like, Black Lives Matter, when people were doing the Instagram blackout, a lot of people like, don't do that. Instead, list a square with resources. That way, when people look up the thing that they're looking for, they'll see information rather than seeing nothing, right? And so, not learning from that, when Stop Asian Hate was a movement after Black Lives Matter, his whole thing was put up yellow squares. And people had to tell him, bro, don't even do that. I need Eric Nam to enroll in a correspondence course, take some classes, figure out a way to keep from putting your fucking foot in your mouth. Hell, take some Korean history courses since you do so much work in Korea. Take some American history courses since you demand to sing in English. Take some world history courses since you feel like publicly commenting on a situation that is tense, super political, and takes a certain amount of understanding that you obviously currently don't have. Do something. But whatever you fucking do, learn something. Because right now, you don't seem to be able to learn shit. You keep making the same fucking mistakes over and over again. And that's why I don't fuck with your bland ass. Eric Nam is so fucking bland. Him and Amber are two sides of the same boring ass butter sandwich. No flavor. Just grease and salt. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And like I said, I have people who watch my channel from all over the world, all over different backgrounds. So I'm never going to say in this channel, in this format, that one side deserves the pillaging and the murder and the kidnapping that they're receiving. They don't. They don't. What a lot of people fail to bring into the conversation is that every fucking war and every fucking destruction of a people has always had to do with power systems. It's never had anything to do with you and me sitting on the ground. It's always had to do with people collecting power. It's always had to do with a certain amount of tribalism. That is an excuse for gaining power and resources. We are all pawns in the game of those who are higher than us. And it fucking sucks. As a descendant of people who have been pawns of people higher than them for hundreds of years, it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. And until we're able to put power to shame, we're going to continue to see this. And it will not end in my lifetime. It will not end in my children's lifetime. It will not end until the blacking out of the sun. That is how fucking hopeless our mortal situation is. And I hate to say it, but as a woman in her mid-40s, there's a lot of lessons about life that I've come to appreciate, and I've learned that some things are eternal. And what is eternal is that the downtrodden will always be downtrodden. And while the names of those in power may change, there will always be somebody in power until the blacking out of the sun. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I hope this has given you something to think about. There's really not much. Oh, last thing I need to talk about. I'm really sad that Homeboy from Parasite is involved in this drug scandal. From what I've heard, the actor, is it Lee Sun Kyung Sun Kyung? I don't know. I know him best as the actor from both Parasite and from Coffee Prince. He played the neighbor on Coffee Prince who was super hot and who I wanted the main character to get with. And then on Parasite, he was the rich daddy. So yeah, hot as shit. So fucking hot. He's been with his wife for years. Anyway, I'm digressing. He apparently was going to this bar, and this host at this bar got like caught up in some shit with the police, I guess, snitched on all of her celebrity clients. Or his celebrity clients. Can't really remember. I think it's her celebrity clients. Anyway, that is how he and several other people got caught up in this latest drug ring. And it just makes me sad because he did a really good job as the dad on Parasite. He did a really good job in Coffee Prince. I have liked him for a number of years, and I'm really sad to see him caught up with this bullshit. But apparently, that is how G Dragon got brought into all this mess. Because I had wondered, like, they were saying when they were publishing the reports about G Dragon, they were saying that G Dragon had nothing to do with this actor's whole drug thing. Because, like, this actor, his manager, a friend, they all got in trouble. But then G Dragon got in trouble, like, almost exactly at the same time. And it just seemed a little bit too coincidental. Well, it's not. Apparently, somebody was big snitching at the club, and a lot of people are going to be seeing bookings for drugs because of this informant. So, yeah, follow up to that. Also, the news initially reported that some women in girl groups were going to be a part of this whole drug situation, drug scandal, and people were throwing names out. It's this one, it's that one, it's this one, it's that one, it's this one, it's that one. Turned out that was a lie. That was fucking made up. That wasn't the truth. There were no girls involved with this. It was all a bunch of fucking men. When I tell you that idols, especially female idols, get thrown under the bus for so many fucking things, this is just example number 578 of this shit happening. Let us never forget Gina. Let us never forget Park Bom. Women are always seen as the fucking scapegoats for these kinds of situations. And it is just high key the worst thing ever to see people being saddled with these fucking drug rumors when they haven't done a fucking thing because some irresponsible journalist needed to make their article more spicy by saying it is rumored. They need to make it illegal to say it is rumored. Well, no, because I still want to say it. But if you get paid to report on journalism, it should be illegal for your ass to say it is rumored. Because when you say it is rumored, people take that as fact. They take that as people are really talking about this happening. And so there's some people who are mixed up in these conversations that never did anything. And now they've got that in their search results the next time you look up their fucking name. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. Anyway, that's all I got for you. You guys have a good night. I'm sorry that I could not respond to your comments. I don't know what's going on with the comments, but I promise you I will go back and I will read some of the live comments. But if you wanted an answer to something, you need to leave it in the comment section. And if you want to argue with me about supporting Israel or supporting Palestine, I ain't doing it. So don't waste your fucking breath. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to argue with you about these things. I just am not, because I know that I know nothing. And so what fucking good does it do you to argue with somebody who knows nothing but the fact that this is something she doesn't know? What are we going to talk about? What are we going to say? All I know is people are suffering, and it's the fucking individuals in power who are manipulating our religion, who are manipulating our race, who are manipulating our sex, who are manipulating our abilities to keep them in fucking power. We mean nothing to them. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.